Hi, it's Ruby, and welcome to Road Life Hub. Today we're going to be talking about sand dunes. Stay tuned. A few weeks ago, I read an article in The Guardian about Americans living in their vehicles. If you haven't seen it yet, I think it's worth a read. I was honestly really excited to see a national publication put the spotlight on people like us because that doesn't happen very often. I thought the author did a wonderful job capturing the sense of community that develops every winter in Quartzsite, Arizona. If you've spent any time there, you know exactly what they were talking about in the article. But when I finished the article, one thing kept coming back to me. Imagine standing on top of one sand dune in the Arizona desert. You look around and describe everything you can see. Every word you write is true. The view is beautiful. The details are accurate. But no matter how carefully you describe that one dune, you still haven't described the entire desert. That's how I felt reading the article. It wasn't missing anything. It was simply one person's view from one place during one season in one community. And it reminded me of my own first trip to Quartzsite. I still laugh when I think about the day I arrived. I got off the interstate at the first Quartzsite exit, first mistake, drove to the end of the off-ramp, and then realized I had absolutely no idea what I was supposed to do next. I just started working for the National Vehicle Residency Coalition, and I'd only ever met my coworkers through Zoom meetings. There I was, sitting in my Kia Sorento in the middle of the place I'd heard so much about, texting one of my coworkers asking for directions, because I was completely lost. I think I expected Quartzsite to be a little desert town. Instead, it felt like an entire city made out of vehicles. RVs stretched across the desert, vans, buses, little cars, SUVs like mine. They were everywhere, miles and miles of them. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. I'd spent the previous 6 months attending nomad Zoom meetings with many of these people, and I couldn't wait to finally meet them in person. At least, that was the plan. Instead, I somehow ended up camping way out in one of the free 14-day camping areas where there wasn't another camper within earshot. The next morning I thought, well, I'd better go find all these people I've been talking to. That's when I learned that trying to find one person in Quartzsite is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Then I discovered something. It didn't matter. That haystack was full of other needles. People I've never met before wandered into my life. Conversations happened naturally. Before long, I was making new friends I never would have met if my original plan had worked. Then came another surprise. Nobody had mentioned to me that if I wanted to stay in the long-term visitors area, I needed a seasonal pass. It was $180. I remember looking at the $200 I had tucked away to buy myself something special for Christmas that year. Instead of buying a Christmas present, I bought myself the pass. Looking back now, I think that turned out to be one of the best Christmas presents I've ever given myself. I started out camping with a group called the Fish Camp in La Posa South. They were wonderful people, but after a couple of weeks, I realized they really weren't my tribe. A woman I'd met invited me to camp across the road in Tyson Wash with her, and that's where I settled in. That's where I also met the three people who became some of the closest friends I had in Quartzsite: Julie, Rod, and Sarah. When people picture Quartzsite, they often imagine giant campfires, music, hundreds of people gathering together. Those things absolutely happen. But when I think back to my time there, it's not the first picture that comes to mind. I think about Christmas dinner. The four of us each brought something to share and squeezed into Julie's little Class C motorhome for dinner. It wasn't a huge celebration. It wasn't a famous gathering that everyone writes articles about. It was just four friends sharing a meal in the middle of the Arizona desert. Honestly, most of my favorite memories from Quartzsite happened when I was completely alone. Every evening, I'd watch another spectacular desert sunset. I became so fascinated by them that I started taking a picture almost every single night. Sometimes I'd wake up at 2 in the morning, step outside, sit on my little porta potty, and just stare at the stars. The silence out there was incredible. Somewhere during those months, I realized something about myself. I thought I'd gone to Quartzsite to find a community. What I actually found was that I really enjoy solitude. I love meeting people. I love sitting around a campfire. I love sharing stories. But after a while, I also love pulling down a quiet dirt road where it's just me and my Kia Sorento and whatever landscape happens to be outside my window. That surprised me. And I know I'm not the only one. That's why I say the Guardian article tells one important story, but it can't tell all of them. Some people spend every winter in Quartzsite because they found their tribe there. Others spend a few weeks, then head to Texas. Some go to Florida. Some never make it to Quartzsite at all. Some of us are happiest surrounded by people, and others are happiest camping where nobody else is around. None of these stories are more correct than the others. They're simply different views from different sand dunes. One of the things I've been talking about since reading that article is how many people have helped me understand this lifestyle over the past 2 years. Some write blogs, some make YouTube videos, some run resource websites, some teach you how to install solar. Others teach you where to find free camping or how to stay safe as a solo traveler. I even have a good friend who runs her own nomad resource website. Lately, I've been bookmarking more and more of these websites, especially ones that I've discovered through Pinterest, because I want to include them in the Road Life Hub resource guide. Why? Because no single website, not mine, not theirs, can ever tell you everything there is to know about life on the road. Each of us is standing on a different sand dune. Each of us sees something the others don't. And when you put all of those perspectives together, you begin to see just how vast this lifestyle really is. If the Guardian reporter had spent 30 days traveling with me instead of staying in one place, I don't think the biggest surprise would have been the scenery. I think it would have been the constant mental juggling. Do I have enough power to get through the night? Enough water until my next stop? Enough gas to reach the next town? Where am I going to shower? Where am I sleeping tonight? These questions follow you every single day, and they become second nature after a while. Most of us don't even think of them anymore. We just solve them as they come. But they're part of the story too. That's really why I wanted to make this video, Not to critique a wonderful article, not to suggest it left something out, but to remind all of us, especially those who don't live this lifestyle, that no single article, documentary, YouTube channel, or website can capture the whole picture. Road Life Hub won't either, and I don't want it to. What I hope Road Life Hub becomes is one more voice in a much larger conversation, a place where we can learn from each other, point people towards other great resources, and help service providers better understand the many different ways people build a life on the road. Because the truth is, none of us can see the whole desert, but together we can help each other explore it.